Alrighty, so this is a live training that I did on Instagram Live. And so this is a topic that keeps coming up for clients and just women that I'm speaking with. And so I want to talk about it. And so I kind of go on some riffs here and there, but I do come back to my notes. If there's anything in here that I missed that you want me to chat about, please let me know. Please reach out, Instagram me, message me on Instagram, send me an email. Because again, this is something that I've just in the last week, I've had like 5 people say, like, Brigid, you need to talk about this more because not enough people are talking about it. And so right now, if that's you, listen to the episode and then respond back with what your thoughts are, what you'd love to hear more on. We'll dig into it. All right. And so right now, again, enjoy this episode and I'll see you next time.
On here to do a little live about what is wealth actually, or what is wealth really? Okay. My hair's doing hair things today that it doesn't usually do. So it is what it is. Okay. I'm going to be looking over here to my notes on my computer, just FYI. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I've been having so many conversations with clients and just other women in general about wealth and what it means to be wealthy and what that looks like as a Catholic or Christian woman, right? Because so many of us, whether intentionally or just culturally, have been raised to associate wealth with money and money with like badness, okay? And so we're going to talk about it because this is a huge piece of the nervous system stuff that not enough people are talking about and not enough people understand. So what we're going to do is, why are we talking about this exactly? I just handled that. But again, specifically because really feeling God calling me to lean more into this for whatever reason, even though it kind of terrifies me to talk about this in public. Again, I talk about this with clients all the time, but to be more vocal about it is quite scary. Okay, so let's talk about what actually is wealth. And for this, I'm literally going to look at my notes because I don't want to butcher this. So I looked up the etymology, and if you're not familiar with what that is, etymology is just like the study of words or the foundation of words. And the foundation, the root of wealth is, well, as far back as we can really get it, is going to be dealing with this idea. It's like mid-12th century, so it's a while back. This idea that it's a state of happiness, well-being, and joy. Okay, so again, wealth is a state of happiness, state or condition of happiness, well-being, or joy. Okay, that is the actual original definition of wealth. Happiness, well-being, joy. How wonderful is that? Like, everybody wants that. And then later on, in about the 1590s, it says, it sort of has shifted to, instead of being that happiness, well-being, joy, it shifted into plenty or abundance of anything. Okay. And then from there, it has migrated more into like valuable material possessions, prosperity, things like that. And so that's important to know because, again, context with these words is so, so important because we're going to talk about a couple of other words that you might have a negative connotation to, but when you actually learn what the word means and what the origins are, you're going to be like, oh, I didn't realize that's what it meant. Okay. So again, wealth is just going to be happiness, well-being, joy, and I will generally classify it as resources. We're not necessarily going to be talking about money in terms of, wealth in terms of money. We're going to be talking about it in terms of resources, all right? Because money is a neutral thing, right? It doesn't have to have any charge on it, but so many of us have a negative charge on money, which means that we don't feel safe having it. And you're probably like, Brigid, that's ridiculous. I feel so safe having money. But in reality, do you actually feel safe being the one to manage it, to use it wisely, to give it wisely, things like that, to receive it, right? We talked about this a while ago, where reception can be super, super hard for some people, okay? And so, back over here, again, culture has given us this idea of wealth is money in the bank, right? The more money in the bank you have, the wealthier that you are. That is not actually the definition of wealth, right, that we just looked at, okay? And then from a nervous system perspective, whenever we are, quote unquote, well-resourced or more wealthy, you would think that that would make us feel safer. But in reality, we all have a baseline that our nervous system feels safe holding. Okay, sorry if you hear the little boys playing outside. They're running around. And so whenever we have more than we feel comfortable holding, then that makes us feel really unsafe and really scary, okay? And as an example, Whenever my husband and I were first married, we were both working at Catholic schools. I literally brought home, I can still see my paycheck. It was like $957 and some cents for 2 weeks of work, which again, this was like full time teaching AP Bio, AP Chem. And so we had a spreadsheet where we tracked quite literally every single expense that we had, like even down to like the littlest thing. Because when you're both making $1,800 a month, that doesn't go very far. And so we were like, wow, if we can just get to like $4,000 or $5,000 months, we're going to feel so secure, so amazing, right? And eventually, after working hard and making some adjustments and things like that, we did get to that $4,000 or $5,000 month. And then it was like, okay, this doesn't feel like enough. Like we need to get the $10,000 month, right? Or what maybe it's for you, the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 month. And whenever you hit that, you're like, this still doesn't feel like enough. Like it's not enough. I need more, right? And it's not because you're greedy. Like it's not because you're going out and spending so much money on baubles, right? I actually had to learn what that word was. It's kind of embarrassing. And it was like my wake up call to be like, oh, Brigid, you need to read more books. So thank you, Kindle, for helping me read more books. Okay. And like, again, you are not the person who goes out and buys like, I don't even know how much handbags cost. I literally don't even know. A lot of money. You're not the person who goes out and buys like tens of thousands of dollars worth of handbags. You're probably not even the person who really goes out and spends a lot of money on your hair, right? Like, and that's just because those things aren't super important to you. But what is important to you is, at least if you're similar to me, which I'm assuming you are, but if you're watching this or listening to this, is like, we really prioritize the using our wealth or our resources for bettering our children, bettering ourselves, whether that be from a spiritual perspective, a physical perspective, or an emotional, mental perspective, right? So physically, we'll just stick there because it's pretty simple and straightforward. We really prioritize for our kids, like barefoot shoes, because we have done the research. We feel really strongly that if they want to be the strongest, healthiest physically growing up, then they need to have a really strong foundation, quite literally. And so for us, we use our resources in order to purchase barefoot shoes for our kids and for ourselves. Now, if you know anything about barefoot shoes, these are not cheap shoes, and for a good reason, because they're handmade or like small batch, things like that. So that is of value to us. Okay. And so, or even just the food that we eat. Like we do not use regular all-purpose flour because again, a variety of reasons. We use einkorn flour, which is so much more money than all-purpose flour, but it's healthier for us. We think it tastes better, everything like that. And so we have chosen to use our resources or wealth in order to purchase these things that we deem important for our family. And now again, this does not mean that if you go out and you buy like a fancy handbag or get your hair done, that's a bad thing. That's just what you have discerned is what God is saying that you should do with your resources that He has given you, right? That's going to look different for every single person. And so on that note, we're going to go to, well, how can we be holy and be wealthy at the same time? Because for so long, I had this idea that I'll get to it. If I was to be holy, then that meant that I had to look like St. Francis. And if you're not familiar with him, he's like, I forget, 1200s, somewhere around there, AD. And he came from a super wealthy family. He literally gave everything, the clothes off his back, and left and started this order and took a vow of poverty. So he relied on other people for literally everything, food, clothes, drinks, like everything like that, shelter. And so I had in my mind for so long that if I'm going to be holy, if I'm going to be a saint, then I have to be so impoverished. And I lived like that for a while. Not necessarily impoverished, but I lived with that mentality of being impoverished, where I felt bad if I ate a steak, because it's like so many other people could use this steak. And that's so true. So many other people could use this steak. But I felt bad using my resources to buy myself resources that would make me healthier, okay? Or would help me to grow or learn or whatever. And so after, thanks be to God, like He has really convicted my heart, and He's like, Brigid, that's not your path to holiness. And I've wrestled with Him for a long time, because I was like, no, Lord, like if I'm going to be holy, then I need to give everything to you. Like physically, I need to give everything to you. And that just came from a misunderstanding of what it means to truly surrender, right? Because yes, literally everything, house, kids, everything is God's. He can do whatever he wants with it, whenever he wants with it. And that is my surrender to him. So he has allowed us to be well-resourced. Yes, because we work hard, and also because of his blessings and generosity. But at the same time, my surrender is not giving my clothes off my back. I do that, but I'm not going to physically take my clothes off and give them to somebody else, because that's not what I feel like God's calling me to do. My surrender is saying, thank you for all of these gifts. I'm going to be a really great steward of them. I'm going to shepherd those who come into my care wisely, and I'm going to completely surrender everything to you, because it's all yours anyway. And when you can get that mindset, things are going to start to shift, because you're not going to hold on to things so harshly. You're not going to say, oh, I just made $10,000, so therefore I need to hold it so tight. That's what I used to do. Hold it so tight and not spend it, because I never know when the next $10,000 is coming through. When in reality, yes, it's important to be a wise steward and to use your gifts wisely, but God's not calling you to have a death grip on them, because then you're not a wise steward of them. You're not going to invest wisely, right? Whatever that means for you. You're not going to be able to give generously. You're going to be like that, I forget what the parable is, but you're going to be like that person who buries his talent and waits for his master to come back, and then has nothing to multiply to give to the master whenever he does come back, right? And so that's something that's really, really important. So again, we have 3 different lanes of wealth. Got off topic a little bit. We have the physical wealth. So again, how are you taking care of your physical body? Because you are a body. God created you mind, body, and soul. You have to take care of your body. You have to take care of your mind. Your spiritual health, and then your emotional, mental health as well. Okay? All right. Let's see. What do I have next here? I already talked about that. Again, I kind of got a little off topic here. That's okay. Okay. Let's talk about what becoming wealthy actually looks like, because this is going to look very, very different for every single person. I already mentioned a little bit about this, but let's go into it a little bit more. Okay, so one huge thing that I see with women that I work with is accepting or receiving can be super, super hard for them. This can be accepting help, accepting a compliment, accepting gifts, whatever. As an example, maybe this is you. You just had a baby, and you're somebody at your church or in your community is like, oh my goodness, I really want to put together a meal train for you, because they're so wonderful, and we want to do this for you. And you're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly take this meal train. I don't need it. I can make sure that our kids have food, things like that. When in reality, you're like, oh my goodness, the meal train sounds amazing, because then I don't have to cook, and so you just don't accept it. And what that does is that actually is a reflection upon how you accept gifts, not just from people around you, but from God the Father. And so do you allow yourself to accept gifts, compliments from others? And not from a prideful perspective, everything that happens is from giving glory back to him. But from do you allow yourself to accept these gifts, knowing that these are gifts. Somebody wants to give this to you. Some people's love language is gift giving. They love gift giving, right? And even if it's not their love language, they love showering other people, especially in times of need. It makes them feel important. It makes them feel needed and loved, right? And so when you can actually start to receive, when you can start to accept without shrinking back or saying oh, thanks, I got it on sale or whatever, then you're going to be the person who can actually handle the wealth or the resources that are put in front of you, that you have earned. That you're going to be the person who will give generously, because you know that your gift is going to be multiplied, and that it's not making you less resourced. Okay? That you can give generously. Say you give $10,000 a year. Does your mind immediately go to I could have used this $10,000 for something else? What if I can't make back that $10,000? Or does it go to, I'm so grateful that I get to donate this $10,000. This is going to make such a difference in people's lives. Thanks be to God that he has allowed me to do this for somebody else. What a privilege, what a blessing. Because on one hand, the first one, that is dysregulation. That is a wound that is coming up that you need to heal because it's affecting literally everything in your life. Again, even how you accept love from your kids, from your husband, versus the second one, that wound has been healed. And now you can give and receive from a place of knowing that it's not about how worthy you are or how successful you are or anything like that. Okay? Because God does not want you to live in this place of like, right? Interrupted for a snack. Be careful. Okay. And so, let me go through my notes here and see if I missed anything else that I wanted to talk about. There's one more piece here that I missed. Okay. So, again, I mentioned it briefly, but all of this comes down to the idea of contentment versus complacency. And those two places live in very different areas. Contentment lives from a place of steadiness, from a place of healing, completeness, peace. Literally, peace is in the definition of contentment. Actually, let's look it up right now. So contentment is a stable state of peaceful satisfaction, representing happiness with one's current status, situation, without an urgent desire for more. Okay? So that is contentment. So contentment is peace, happy, stable. Versus complacency. Complacency is a feeling of smug, quiet self-satisfaction accompanied by unawareness of actual dangers, deficiencies, or potential. Okay? So I actually have had this conversation, I think a couple of times on the podcast and all the time with clients, where they say, like, I don't want to be content. Contentment is bad. I used to believe that too. My husband would always be like, Brigid, you have to be content. I'm like, I don't want to be content. Like, I want to do better. I want to strive. And so contentment is actually peace. Contentment is saying everything's fine. It's not saying that you don't work hard and that you don't want to keep striving for more. It's saying that there's not the urgent desire for more, that there's not deficiencies or dangers or things like that, right? And so complacency is not what we want. We do not want to be complacent because, again, that is that smug, quiet self-satisfaction with an unawareness, versus contentment is stable, peaceful, not having an urgent desire for more, things like that, okay? And so with all of that in mind, this all goes back to your nervous system, okay? When your nervous system is content, things feel safe. It feels safe to receive money, compliments, whatever. When your nervous system is not content, when it is just being complacent, it feels so uncomfortable. Like everything that you're doing is not good enough, that you need to strive more, that you hit a ceiling and it's like you need to keep hitting it over and over again because the ceiling keeps rising and rising and rising. And so it's essentially an inability to feel safe. And so with wealth, when you can get to the point where you believe that wealth is just resources, and in our culture, resources is money. It could be literally anything. I once had a coach, or I guess I still have a coach. She was like, think of money as bananas, right? For whatever reason, people have thought that coins or gold is valuable, so therefore that's what we have for money. But it could be literally anything. It could be phones. It could be water bottles, whatever it is. And so your nervous system is just running off of a pattern that you learned. And right now it's super important that you understand what that actually means. It's a survival pattern. And again, until you actually heal that survival pattern, it's just going to keep showing up over and over and over again. Okay? It's going to affect things in so many ways that you don't even know that are possible. Relationships, business, physical health, everything like that. Okay? And so what you learned when you were 5 years old is still showing up now when you're 34, 41, 52, however old you are. Because it's your body saying, I don't feel safe, so therefore I have to compensate. And no amount of nervous system regulation is going to fix that. Because your subconscious is so powerful. It runs about 95% of what you do. Logic only runs about 5% of what you do. So if your subconscious is always saying, danger, 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 you're not going to logically be able to get your way out of it. And so you really have to go in and you have to rewire how your body perceives these different things. Even money, how your body perceives money, how your body perceives wealth, right? And so when that happens, then your nervous system will actually feel safe. And that is whenever you're going to start to see lasting changes in the amount of money that you can make, what you do with that money, what you believe about yourself when you have money, right? I had another coach a while ago, and he said that good people without money are good people with money. Jerks, he didn't say jerks, but I wanted to say jerks. Jerks without money are going to be jerks with money. And so right now, think to yourself, are you a good person? I'm assuming you are. You're going to be a good person whether you make $5,000 a year or whether you make $5 million a year. If you're a jerk right now, which I'm assuming you're not, you're going to be the same person when you make $5,000 a year versus $5 million a year. It's just a matter of how your body perceives the wealth. So just to wrap up, money is nervous system work. If you want to continue to succeed and grow, it's nervous system work. Because until your body knows that success is safe, until your body knows that having money is safe, that you're going to be a good steward, you're always going to go back to that pattern that you learned whenever you were a little girl. Okay? And so right now, I would love for you to download my free audio training. It's called Spiritual Somatic Rewiring. It's specifically this one about money, so that you'll be able to go back into that first memory that you have of money, and you'll really start to be able to heal it at its root. And that's, again, going to change everything from a physical perspective to a business perspective to your relationships. Because when you rewire how your body perceives things, how your subconscious perceives things, perceived danger, it changes literally everything. Okay? You can regulate all you want, but it's not going to do a darn thing if you're not actually feeling safe and content. All right? So you can grab that. I guess I'll put it in the caption or wherever you're listening to this. Grab that, and I will see you next time.